Welcome to the Board of Psychology's publicly noticed meeting. We will first start with a video describing how you can participate in this meeting.
Welcome to the Professional and Vocational Licensing Virtual Board Meeting.
When the meeting begins momentarily, the chair will take a roll call, explain any specific rules for this particular board, and then move to public comment. The name of the board member will appear on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. For instance, this is board member Y, and this is board member E. Public testimony will be accepted at the beginning of the meeting and before each agenda item. You can indicate that you are ready to testify by clicking on the Raise Hand button being circled by the mouse on your screen now. At the appropriate time, the board will recognize you to speak and ask you to unmute your mic as shown here. Again, public testimony will be accepted at the beginning of the meeting and before each agenda item. Public attendees will not be able to unmute their microphone until recognized by the board. Public attendees who are recognized to testify will be asked to identify themselves by name and their affiliated organization if applicable. Please mute your microphone when you are finished speaking as a courtesy to others and members of the board. Public attendees will not be able to unmute themselves after the testimony is completed unless recognized again after raising their hand. At some point during the meeting, the board may choose to move into executive session. When the board moves into executive session, the board members' microphones and video feeds will be turned off, and a similar screen as you see now will be displayed. When the board returns from executive session, their microphones will be turned on as well as their video cameras.
Welcome again to the Professional and Vocational Licensing Virtual Board Meeting.
At this time, the chair will call the meeting to order and take a roll call, as well as explain any additional rules that may be specific to this board.
To view the meeting and provide live oral testimony, please use the link at the top of the agenda. You will be asked to enter your name. The board requests that you enter your full name, but you may use a pseudonym or other identifier if you wish to remain anonymous. You will also be asked for an email address. You may fill in this field with any entry in an email format, for example, janedoe@gmail.com. Your microphone will be automatically muted. When the chairperson asks for public testimony, you may click the raise hand button found on your Zoom screen to indicate that you wish to testify about that agenda item. The chairperson will individually enable each testifier to unmute their microphone. When recognized by the chairperson, please unmute your microphone before speaking and mute your microphone after you finish speaking. If you cannot get internet access, you may get audio-only access by calling the phone number listed at the top of the agenda. Upon dialing the number, you will be prompted to enter the meeting ID, which is also listed at the top of the agenda. After entering the meeting ID, you will be asked to either enter your panelist number or wait to be admitted into the meeting. You will not have a panelist number, so please wait until you are admitted into the meeting. When the chairperson asks for public testimony, you may indicate you want to testify by entering stars, then 9 on your phone's keypad. After entering star and then 9, a voice prompt will let you know that the host of the meeting has been notified. When recognized by the chairperson, you may unmute yourself by pressing star and then 6 on your phone. A voice prompt will let you know that you are unmuted. Once you are finished speaking, please enter star and then 6 again to mute yourself. For both internet and phone access, when testifying, you will be asked to identify yourself and the organization, if any, that you represent. Each testifier will be limited to 5 minutes of testimony per agenda item. If connection to the meeting is lost for more than 30 minutes, the meeting will be continued on a specific date and time. This information can be found on the board's website. Instructions to attend the State of Hawaii virtual board meetings may be found online at dcca.hawaii.gov/pvl/files2020-08 State of Hawaii Virtual Board Attendees Instructions.pdf. If you wish to submit written testimony on any agenda item, please email your testimony to psychology@dcca.hawaii.gov or by hard copy mail to attention Board of Psychology, PO Box 3469, Honolulu, Hawaii 96801. We request submission of testimony at least 24 hours prior to the meeting to ensure that it can be distributed to the board members. Thank you.
I will now take roll call. Board member, when I call your name, please respond. Dr. Joe Oliveira Habab, Dr. Jeff Stern,
Here.
and Dr. June.
Here.
Yeah, thank you. All right, and so the time now is 12:50, and since we have quorum, we will start our meeting. So moving into legislative matters, we will review and discuss informed positions as needed on the following measures introduced by the city legislator for 2004 for the legislative session, and the board will review recommendations from its legislative committee. And so it sounds like almost all of the different bills have died.
Yes, Chair, that's somewhat correct. I'm sorry, I don't mean to say, I say somewhat in that, who knows in session, there are many bills that did not make it to crossover. So we do prefer to use the term, that the bill has died, because it's no longer moving forward, but sometimes things can become zombies. So for SB 343, the bill died fairly quick. I think at the first meeting in February, I had suggested that maybe it might be the vehicle for the Senate side for the provisional license. But instead, they pushed forward SB 1444, which was basically the same bill language, just introduced by another legislator. It did make it to the CPN hearing. However, I believe it was Senator Keohokoloe who deferred that bill. So both those provisional license bills have died. The SB 2243. This is also a bill that didn't, I think, even get heard. It was referred to committees, but it did not get heard. So that's there. SB 958, which establishes the licensure for requirements for school psychologists. This bill, I believe, also was deferred, and so that died. HB 1648. This bill made it through the education, so its second committee, and then made it to Finn, I believe, and it was in Finn that they stated that there was a Senate bill, I think they were referring to SB 958, that was still alive at that time, and so they deferred the bill and it died.
That was a working group one.
Yes, they both got changed to working groups, so they would have required the DCCA and other entities like the Department of Education, and I think even one of them required the AG to form the committee and then provide a report by or before next second. But they both died. Then HB 1649, which didn't involve this chapter, but it was something that I added just to keep track of with relation to the school psychologist days, because that's an incentive program that who knows may help attract more school psychologists into the field. Not affecting my situation. SB 2010. This I think died fairly quick. There was minimal information about HRS 465. But it did involve the employment of psychologists. So, SB 2489. SB 760, SB 20, sorry, did I say 20, did I write 2049 twice? Oh, it's 1489. We know we should come really close. So 2049 also, all three of these bills refer to the restrictive authority bills, and they all Yeah. I don't think they made it through the substantive committees. HB 2068, this died pretty quick as well. I guess the director of health will not have the authority to appoint psychologists to fill those positions. And so that brings us up to, I'm gonna skip just down to N real quick, to HB 2630 related to mental health treatment. This would establish regulatory framework for administration of psilocybin for therapeutic use. On the House side, before it went to finance, it amended the practitioners, for example, psychologists, social workers, MPs, out of the bill that would have allowed them to. It was a little bit of a gray area. It seemed like a constructive authority. However, I think it could be taken sort of like to referral to get the psilocybin treatment. They changed it to just only involving the RNs and then so the psychologists were written out of it. My recommendation is just to track it. So that leads us to HB 1830 and HB 2079, which both crossed over. The last for HB 1830, this bill has an HE2, so they mainly focused on the financial part of it, so the appropriation. They modified the appropriation in such a manner that more than likely will cause this bill to go to conference, so that the House has some say in the appropriation in conference. So it won't be just the Senate that would have that privilege, as you could say. As far as the substantive amendments that the board submitted with regard to when the exam is taken and regarding the indefinite waiver, those haven't yet been accepted, those amendments. I'm happy to push those again on 1830. This bill has been referred out to CPN and HHS for the joint hearing. So that's pretty much the only substantive hearing that it will have on the Senate side. After that, it's going to go to the judiciary and plan. So it's going to be finance and law. So if I would suggest or offer that the idea is to try and get the links in this first. We may get a hearing notice today. We could get it by Monday. So hopefully it also provides us a little time. I don't see any changes to the testimony.
Okay.
At this time, since no substantive changes have happened since the last time it was heard. And then lastly, HB 2079, it would affect our chapter 465. Only in the, I believe, only in the sanctions section. So that it would include a new, or it would include new language that would bar like a denial on a psychologist who has a criminal conviction stemming from that state's status of legality for gender affirming care. So whether it happened in this state or another state previous, it wouldn't bear any weight on the applicants as far as this topic is concerned. So I think that we should have a little bit of discussion on that, but other than that, you know, it would be, in my mind, kind of a have some a little bit of what's involved with the range, you know, would be pretty good. As far as what's
yeah, so that we can have this stuff, yeah, right, yeah. We really not want to forget, you know, that all of the kingdom. if they were hard and they're providing better than that. Yeah. So even though I spend the position under level three.
I could bring up the language real quick.
Oh, we printed it.
Oh, you continue, sorry. We could bring up the language real quick, just to,
Yeah.
let you know what the section of 465 will say,
Okay,
and then if you have, just. The testimony could just be that the board has no objection.
Okay.
And then that you support the thing.
yeah, if there's something they would. It affects a lot of.
Oh,
Oh, sure, you're gonna.
Oh, yeah.
all right, okay, so. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we're looking on page 42, section 13, that's line 6. What page again, sorry? 42, line 6 is where the section starts. Interestingly, they don't, in the other section, they define gender affirming care. In 465, they don't. But they state, in addition to any other actions authorized by law, the board shall refuse to grant a license to the applicant and may revoke or suspend any license or may place a license or put a license holder on conditional probation for any cause authorized by law, including but not limited to. So they amended the main out of that. And so number 5 is where they put that language. And that states, except when the conviction was based on the provision or assistance in receipt or provision of gender affirming healthcare services, as defined under section 2J/1 or 322, sorry, 323J1. So long as the provision or assistance in receipt or provision of the services was in accordance with the laws of this state, or would have been in accordance with the laws of this state, if it had further been
Okay.
I mean, it would be nice to clean that up a little bit, but, does everybody understand the gist of that?
Essentially, it's saying if it wasn't, the conviction here in Hawaii, then we would not consider it as a conviction, even if it was in another state. But this one.
Right. In accordance with the laws of the state, so someone still could have some kind of criminal conviction for within gender affirming care, like abuse or something, that would not qualify.
Right.
But something that is just merely because they were providing. So as long as it's within what we state in this state, we can provide it, which I think is what they're establishing.
Sounds like they were doing it, they're really trying to get it in a way that wasn't gonna be misunderstood, but it's still.
I'd like to see that symbolic logic already. That was pretty hard course. Almost like our courses back, so we would. One.
Oh, or for an applicant, yes.
So yeah, if there is no objection from the board on this bill's language, then you can merely just support the intent and offer that you have no.
Okay, yeah. And we have a motion then, to put here on time, and I need to what we have a motion by the file that, all in favor, aye. Yes.
No thought that it is not related. What about, psychologists and providing, supportive care for abortion? Okay, and in this, in some states, it's actually, open conviction, right? if we can clear someone or advise them or guide them in therapy or, that could be a conviction.
There's a bill that passed with it last year
Yeah, exactly.
that protected, I'd rather have to look up the language, but I think that to.
Okay, so, okay, there's already.
But I'm not sure if it was specific to the question, I gotta double check, but I do remember that there was something that is to counter the states that were. Criminalizing people.
Right, okay.
Why didn't you and Jill had commented on that when you had reached out to us? What if, or your different,
I just want to, I know it's not clear, but I want to clear that with you there.
Yeah, so it was
Last
from
year,
the
yeah.
action, it's on the agenda, so the. Expands the professional establishment of Act Two, which is the one that allowed for the abortion in here,
I see,
yeah, that was Act Two from last.
so on the abortion language, it's adding. In that act, so we can just go back, we can double check that.
Good point. Thank you for clarifying that. Seems like we're done then,
Did you, could you maybe, because we have an HD two, discuss 1830 as far as just the current testimony that you guys have? I can provide you the language, but, that would involve like an addition of several of the attorney.
Oh, unchanged, right, but,
Since the board has met the last time. Because we utilize our liaisons, the board's testimony should be voted on to support, or support them, because they were here from the last.
It's printed in there.
Not the bill, but the testimony. So the one that you guys all got in the committee, for the last hearing. That has now been reviewed at the board at the meeting, so you should vote on that or even. So that, it's just clear. Yeah, I can provide you that
The testimony or the bird?
testimony. Yeah.
Oh. 2 points, just to write about, the consider language was clear about everything.
Right, so on this bill, 1830, it was different than the Senate side. The Senate side, the amendment was pretty easy. But for some reason on the House side, the section that states right now, 4657. I think it's, I can't remember which subsection it is with regard to the examination requirement. They added on the end of that you had to complete all other requirements before you could take the exam, which would mean someone would have to complete the full stop. So I struck all of that newly amended language in there and put what we had put in the Senate bill,
Okay.
which was to state that provisional license holders are authorized to sit for the exam upon, approval, for the duration of the license. And if they do not have any criminal or any of the accusations against the license.
And this would just be for associates.
Yes. So it would not be for everyone, but it would still allow the board to vet the provisional license holders for the exam. Instead of just only, I guess you could say, submitting a transcript and. I mean, that's pretty much what the application is pretty much going to be based on. And confirmation of the supervisor if a provisional license is created. So,
But not until the license is actually issued, not when they apply for it, but when it's issued.
when it's issued, yes. So it'd still be the same like exam. It's just those who apply for the provisional, the kids that are exam further. Those who completed their encouragement stuff. They just want to do the exam and they just have to go through the examination.
I think the process is. For the, on the administrative side, then it not be too, sometimes it can take a while and the folks are. Thinking they're gonna be able to sit for their exam sooner than later, but I think the process to that, they're gonna do not use. Still dealing with their postdoc or.
Right. I mean, I see, one thing you guys should consider is a pushback on the date effective. Because I believe that because the bill states that the applicant has to take it or complete an internship approved by the board, because it says approved, you now have a job. So it's not that, you could always say, as long as it's APA and APIC, then you'll accept. You can like maybe change the language, right, but you may have to do rules, create rules for a process that allows you to consider an internship program as being approved. Which would probably just be the APA or APIC standards, right?
Yeah,
And it was-
areas of technology.
But it still requires us to create a rules.
To avoid having to do the job.
Yeah, what's the terminology that's used when, it's not like very good, but when you're determining applications consistently not. Well, arbitrary. Yeah, so you want to be able to determine if an internship program.
I think that the rationale is when someone looks at the rules and the law, and they're like, okay, I know what to do.
Right.
I know what the board's gonna do, so it's not like that work. And like, oh, the board thinks that I.
So would it be similar to right now when we're reviewing the doctoral programs and they're not really accredited, and we ask for them to submit the training report? Would you want to develop something similar to that?
It would probably be most substantive, but not.
I don't think so.
You know, if you don't need it to be, then.
An internship is a year long, a doctoral program is something.
Oh, sorry.
And it's, you know, it's 5 to 7 years long. Well, of course, like that was not, but internship is, you know, you want to see that as a work as, sequence of training, report. You know, the criteria is really laid out nicely on the EPIC standards, and so we want to create like you know, kind of like a checklist of supervision, what we want to return, you know, kind of exposure to assessment, you know, all of that. Okay.
You know, this actually. 2 years ago, I helped implement I implemented the speech pathology provision. And, so I think it's gonna map on, if it were to pass, we would be able to probably map on that. The exact same process, except for the addition of the internship program approval. And so that being said, the requirements for the provisional actually follow our standard licensure in speech. And what it is based off the requirements that you need in order to get your abstract certification. So, if we were to set up, say, our internship like approval in the same fashion that APPIC would, then they don't have to do 2 separate processes. They can provide what they provided at APPIC, or they can provide, you know, the minimal information that you guys request, but it's still, you know, not something completely different. That makes sense.
So that, as far as the rules committee, is that something maybe we can focus on, because it would be coming up.
Yeah.
And how we can, and like, where do we go there?
Yeah, that might be.
I don't mind, you know, we can look at, should we just start looking at it, guidelines and then
Yeah.
create something that.
I think I have them saved, so I can put them out to you guys.
I have a question about the postdoctoral and when, you know, they can, take the exam. During the postdoctoral. Does the postdoctoral year have to be an organized sequence too? Does it have to be part of an actual, set program? Or does it can be like, it just be like, individual psychologists and 3 to 5 people for that? I got asked that something.
So in 4657, A2. It states that the applicant shall demonstrate that they've completed 1 year of postdoctoral supervised experience in health service in psychology. I think we defined health. We don't have any in that. I don't think. So, because it's not defined,
Yeah, it's more open than.
Yes.
Yeah,
it is, because, in the rules, I believe it is. Yeah, it's section 9.
We don't have a definition for our health service training.
Well, no, we have a psychology training program, but not in health service psychology. So in section 9, subsection E, it says the training program shall require each student to fulfill an internship of at least 1,900 hours of supervised professional experience in the field of psychology.
what about those?
There's nothing like that. So if that section ends with the internship, there's no postdoc discussion in there. But in the validation requirements, it does state that the applicant is the holder of the doctoral degree from an accredited institution. This is subsection C of 23. That they have to submit letters signed by the supervisor under whom they completed the postdoc, specifying the dates, the hours, and whether that day, the supervisor holds a doctoral degree from an accredited institution, or has national register certification or diplomat. And so there are certain, you can only talk about the dates, the hours, and the supervisor's credentials.
But then it doesn't even say how many hours of supervision, whether it has to be an organized sequence,
That's correct.
anything, right?
That's correct. So I believe it was in 2021, the board reviewed a request for an informal interpretation. And in that interpretation, the board referred to APPIC as being congruent with what the board determines is acceptable for an internship and postdoc.
You can change one of these sometime.
Yeah.
You can start with a postdoc psychology, and start actually that more for the yeah, I understand that. I just didn't know how to answer when people ask me, right, I'm going to have trouble getting my license if I'm in a postdoc program and then it's not an organized. That's my agent.
It's postdoctoral experience.
Postdoctoral experience and it's so much. That's all I ask.
Well,
Yeah.
and, one of the questions that was is people who are wanting to do telehealth for the staff from the line.
Right.
Oh, like telehealth hours.
That is
So, yeah, so like working for companies on the mainland that all they do is telehealth. And people overseas are in,
As long as it's not reported out.
They're getting supervision, they're getting telehealth from home. And, or home office, and then they're getting supervision from also getting from home.
Right.
Or, Zoom or whatever.
They don't even say that it has to be by psychologists supervising in what, right?
yeah.
Any licensed psychologist.
Right.
No, that has to be a class. Yeah, I'm gonna work back about that. I don't think right.
Right, when we meet again.
Yes.
Okay.
But this bill, my feeling is would probably require rules to at least, like, Andrew had stated for the other bill, like really outline your guys' requirements.
Could have been changing.
Where are the rules for the process of, validated programs that are not? So, how we do it, this is report, where is that?
Oh, it's in the rules under training.
Definitely.
98-5.
So.
Subchapter 2 requirements, training, 1698.
So in, in rules, so in the rules section. Or in the rules, section 9, training is defined as graduate level training leading to a doctoral degree. With the curriculum encompassing a minimum of 3 academic years of full-time graduate study in a approved program or an accredited institution. Yeah, so all those courses, the sequence can be.
And then we can put it on that kind of. Then the question of CE, right? So the CE requirement is gonna start from people that are associated.
I don't think that this bill will
No.
require an active CE, and it's only a year license. I think. They would, and there's no limitation on how many times they do this license.
Oh, I think it was something.
It's limited for that license, but then that license, you can reapply to get a new license, is that what you're saying?
I'm saying, yeah, once your license expires, you could reapply and get a new license, you could still complete full stock hours, but remember, they have to do it for the purpose of full stock hours. So the board can deny it. If it's not for that purpose. But with regard to the CE stuff, you will be required. You could require it prior to someone getting a license if they say don't need certain training. And like the opportunity, the last week you were bringing up, so we have a self heavy training and not too much therapy. That's listed, it could always require a continuing education course in something, etc. But those are options I think you guys have that, there's nothing I think that bars out in the way of the bill, as far as I can read, that says, applicable. But, I would suggest going back to the idea of, how long to make, how far back to set the effective date. We typically ask for 2 years. So, if it passes this year, it'll be 2026, or 2027, or July or January.
2025, you said?
I think it has a defective date, so they haven't set that. I think it just says 1 year from now. I think they would-
So do we need a motion then to kind of include that on the testimony that we're gonna provide?
If they pass it, then
Parts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6, 7.
that they do that. Oh, that's from the, I think I didn't update that too. It's still,
But they added a chapter 8 of 3,000. But
Yes.
parts 2, 3, 4, and 5 will be effective 7. So that's us.
Or part one. Is it part one? It's the last one, when the last one,
that's weird. How can you have an effective date on a bill that is effective, but then the premium sections aren't effective? Anyway, but yeah, I mean, 2 years, we gotta remember, it doesn't just involve psychologists, because this would be also MITs, maybe social workers would have a change, and then the mental health counselors. 2026 would be what, I guess, the department, is that what the department is going to be question 2026? Okay, then, yes, I would suggest going along.
Okay, so we don't have to change it if it's already incorporated.
Well, I just, you can at least state that. You would request a date, effective date within the 2026 year to coincide with the product's request.
this isn't enough for it to say it right there, July 1, 2026.
It's a bit hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's in there. So as long as it doesn't change, like if they don't change it in CPN and HHS, which they could. So as long as you guys have your explicit.
Do we have to give a justification, like, because we need time to make adjustments to the rules?
I typically include that. Just using the whole.
Right, I don't know why, so we're not just arbitrarily saying we want.
The provisional license for speed was 2 years. So
I think that department stands on that board to be able to Administrator, the employees, including what else, teacher, after the other things, a lot of higher staff. The licenses. That is the request 2026, within the department, because there's a lot of things that must be up to you. Staff.
It was also, it was a little bit of a wild west for me because I was kind of directed where we were to develop the provisional license, but I pretty much had to come up with it based on, so. I don't feel so wild westish this time for this one because I have that, template. So. We will still need to train. On the requirements, luckily we have a perfect on how if we need an additional staff. I'm assuming that these applications will come in like at the beginning of this, at certain times of the year. And so.
But they will try to take care of all of the different areas and we not after contact partners.
You would have to by the effective date there. Because people would be expecting, people with bills in that are not even, approved yet and voted and, not, people call us and say, I want to make the original ones. No, the effective date is. Sorry. And they're like, wow, sad.
Okay, so then, beginning the motion, then you, the, the provisional associate level license would be implemented in one. Yeah, that would be, yeah.
Or the language in the current legislation,
Yeah.
April 2027.
2020.
for parts 2B, one.
For that.
So you.
Second, all there. Now, I guess, we'll be moving on to application next. So the board will enter into executive session, pursuant to Hawaii Revised Statute Section 92-5A1 and 92-5A4 to consider and evaluate personal information relating to individuals applying for professional or vocational license cited in section 26-9 for votes and consult with the board determining on questions and issues pertaining to the board's policies, duties, privileges, immunities, and non-abilities. Motion to go into the executive session, okay, motion by Gerald, second, and by Zach, all in favor, aye. Yeah.
And when we do these remote meetings, it's like when everyone's here, we don't have to do like, I'm in the room alone. That.
Approve Dr. Sabini.
Sorry, hold on 1 second, please. Are we good?
Yep.
Okay. Sorry, Chair.
Dr. Sabini for examination.
Still need.
Okay, moved by June, second by Jeff, all in favor, aye. And then for examination waiver, can I have a motion to approve Dr. Hoffman, Dr. Value, and Dr. Gunter. Okay, motion, that was in second, Bill, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then moving on to review and approval of board meeting minutes. So has everyone had time to look at the minutes from November 3rd? Yeah. Yeah. To review the minutes for November 3rd, 2023, and the minutes for January 12th, 2024, and February 2nd, 2024.
Point of information, I don't think we can vote on the November 3rd minutes because I wasn't present for the meeting, so I would be abstaining. Or I wouldn't be voting. And you know, we, is it matters, or I can still vote to accept the meeting, I'm forcing present. So,
Can I make one, like the non-substantive by reading?
Okay.
Or the November 3rd.
November 3rd, okay, see.
Page 6, back to creating movies and health services projects for establishing file. When something the health field for moving towards not integrated diets and integrated health.
Okay, so integrated healthcare.
Yeah.
Okay,
7 minutes.
okay,
Are these meetings recorded?
yes.
Three minutes.
Yeah.
I know they're posted, like, is there a part?
That meeting was, that meeting, I believe, was a telemeeting, so therefore it would have a recording. Usually, not, yeah.
I looked on the, what you did with that link to go in,
Was it?
minutes and it don't happen there.
You guys take off. So, okay, yeah, I can't remember when the legislation actually became effective. But there was a period of time last year where we were kind of like in a area where prior to, we had to post the minute, the video 5 days after the meeting or 7 days after the meeting, if we didn't get the minutes posted. If we got the minutes posted written, then the minutes, the video would not be posted. That could have happened because of everything. It was after those meetings though, that, we now have to retain the video if it's a television, and we also have to post the minutes. And that's how it is now. As far as the video for November 3rd,
Yeah.
I believe. I can check and see on the website. See what it's like.
I still have a comment on the line, or reported in this meeting. The only way I can verify it is let's see, let's start here, so, I don't know, I think we love it, it's just things that we were talking about, with regard to what part of the are, and what we can. So it says here, what it's doing, we kind of. I evaluating that, like, how do you basically coming in from your standard when I'm something that you do. I don't think that's how it's said it. And that it's put it in context, but I'm back with it.
Yeah.
And then minutes, right?
Minutes. So we need to see that then, because I might be putting them with that.
When Kristen, yeah, that's the airports.
Okay, okay. What I'm gonna do with you was that we would do. Using what is out there as national standards to try to make some of the minimum training standards. Rather than doing something that are, you know. I'm not. Making an example, we are utilizing what is out there as national standard. Not saying that. Maybe you can say, you know, I'm trying to bring this document. You know, how to stand it.
You know, you can put anything else in. That would make something.
Yeah, or we can answer. Or a two.
Okay, so we'll include the correction.
Okay. Standards. Oh, you're okay with that one? Yeah, okay, that one we're in on the recording, that was the first thing. Okay.
So I have current national standards such as basic and
No.
So we're good to keep the minutes with correction.
There's two sections for that one, one fair, and at the fair, and then later on the world continues, and then. There's three on that. Yeah. Okay, so the treatment that we got, this is also stated for the person to stand it. What we do. On page 6. On page 6, on any standard board now.
Okay.
On national standard.
It would have done, you guys could.
Okay.
Noted that the board could use. I mean, I think at that point, there's also rules that. Future.
Yeah.
That's what I was thought.
You're putting here, I think it's a big difference, you got put in wood. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think in my mind, I was referring to the informal opinion that was discussed earlier in the conversation. And so I was assuming that that was what you were referring to, was that informal, which included the APA standard. But I will speak. That'll be updated in these minutes to be reflected. That was the only statement, right? Okay.
Are we talking about all the minutes? And the motion is to accept all minutes? From November 3rd and January 12th?
Oh,
Or just November 3 only?
Right
Thank
now,
you.
the correction.
Thank you. We wait for motion or are we good on?
I mean, I'm sorry, I looked at it again, on page 5, we say we keep adding, you know, here. Keep adding the meantime training programs that are not used to approved, should follow these standards, is that what you want to do?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a lot of research. This is the next chapter. One before is good. What I'm trying to say is that you have some kind of standards,
Right, some sort of guidelines.
like national ones, yeah, that are accepted, that's accepted. We should follow the national standards.
Okay, so we're good. Alright, and we have a motion to approve the minutes from November 3rd, 2023, with the correction. So move, thank you, Susan, started to all in favor? Fine. Okay, so now moving on to the minutes from January 12th, 2024.
Approve both regular and executive session minutes.
Yes.
I think they found that they have like updated.
I did want to say thank you for compiling this book and compiling.
Oh, that's so.
Meant for us. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All the jobs.
Very much the work of those like.
Do you have a collection of the executive session that was fun?
I'm looking for it. I caught it a minute ago and then I lost it. So I apologize.
So long as it's like, not substantive information, you can provide it anyway. Put you in between, otherwise we can go into executive session.
Oh, I know what it is.
Yeah.
It was just a typo, but it had to do with, page 3, and I think Dr. Friedheim, it just says, under training, Dr. Friedheim completed her first pre-doctoral internship from one. That's just a small typo, I think. Yeah. That's it.
That was that.
I think there's also a typo on page 6. Dr. Kristen O'Donnell. Oops, I made it from the recording. I just run on the salary.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve
The minutes
the
will-
minutes, the executive session minutes for January 12th, 2022.
All in favor? So moving on to the minutes from February 2nd.
As stated, Chair,
We're gonna defer
We're
those.
gonna
We're gonna defer those, okay? So our next meeting will be scheduled for April 5th.
apologies. Sorry,
Um,
but just as a, we will be doing elections of officers.
so at the next meeting, April 5th, I will not be in attendance. I'm at a wedding eventually, that's happening that day, so I can sneak away to join via internet.
And I will be in the farm.
Ooh, okay, we're gonna have to reschedule.
And we say that.
Or tax. But in that sense, we also will have the last meeting, that would be the last meeting for each day.
They'll have it today.
You rotate off of here.
Yeah.
So, we can, so it's still machine up, but we can check and make sure the new meeting is prior to your actual, I think it's effectively complete. So as long as it is before that date, you can still.
You made that?
Yeah.
I'm coming in 5 minutes this March.
You
I
see.
think also gonna be doing on second and 9. Wow. What will we do, and then-
So. So. If we did May 3rd, I can do, is there a May 3rd date we're scheduled for?
That, I just double check, I try to put the board's meetings on the first Friday of the month, so I hopefully that is the case.
And that's not here. Is there-
Oh, you know what, no. I didn't schedule a meeting for May because we were gonna move back to every other after the session. So
Maybe we won't get it after this session.
So we might, we can check and see the calendar for our PVL or May calendar meeting. But yeah.
And
Yeah, we
I
need to
can't-
vote. You can't, you better-
I can't be here then, but the plan, right?
If it's the third, then it's before the.
Yeah, I'm recommending it.
Okay,
Yeah, probably.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, so May 3rd then?
Yeah, we just have to check on something.
Yes, I just gotta double check that we have rooms available.
Thank you. Sorry to be.
No, that's okay.
April, let's move.
Uh-huh.
That.
Also, you should make that.
May 3rd, right?
Yeah, May 3rd.
If for any reason HB 1830 requires the board to meet, I'll let the legislative, liaison know. I'm referring to the committee as liaison. It's a city, but,
Thank you all. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No,